Okay, I'm going to try this a second time and try to get this done. I've had some problems with this video so far, and what I want to do it's the night of Easter Sunday. I want to talk about Easter Sunday, and we have had reports, and we'll show those to you right now. Um, but let's talk about this real quick. As a nation, we need to exercise humility, humble ourselves, and turn back to God, asking for forgiveness for our lawlessness. I am convinced if Americans humble themselves, turn from their evil and lawlessness, repent of killing children, shut down false gods of the transgender and gay movements, pray for victims of these ungodly behaviors, and ask Yahweh or God to forgive them, He will heal their land. If they don't, they will have wished they did. God will not be mocked. This is very important, and we should understand this. But I think the big thing is we need to have a humble heart. And when we talk about this issue, we need to ask God to have our eyes and our ears open to what He is trying to do in this country. I think He's given us a warning. He's telling us, guys, you need to change your behavior. You need to let me work in your lives. And I think we need to really ask Him for guidance. And we have to do this ourselves. And the first thing we have to do is, God, am I worshiping you correctly? Am I doing things that I can be doing better? Is there things that I can improve on? Where am I being disobedient? Father, open my eyes up to that and help me become obedient. We need to do that as individuals. If we cannot do that and we're too proud to do that, guys, you're you're if you want God to lead you, He will, and He will humble you. Let me rephrase this. It's a lot easier to humble ourselves than to have God humble us, and He'll do it. Joshua 7:1. But the peoples of Israel broke faith in regard to the devoted things. For Achan, the son of Carmi, son of Zabdi, son of Zerah, of the tribe of Judah, took some of the devoted things, and the anger of the Lord burned against the people of Israel. And it's shown over and over again how He can humble His people, and He will do that. And I encourage everybody to go in and read how God has humbled His people, and it's all the way through Genesis, all the way through Revelation. So start in Genesis and read it all the way through. Jeremiah 11:9-10. Again, the Lord said to me, a conspiracy exists among the men of Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem. They have turned back to the iniquities of their forefathers who refused to hear my words. They have gone after other gods to serve them. And it always stems from people refusing to listen to God and listen to His loving instructions. Okay, so our top stories is Biden declares Transgender Day visibility on Easter. And this has all the headlines. I mean, it's all over plastered everywhere. All right. I think the question is why did God allow it? Not that Biden did it, but why did God allow it? That's where we need to really pay attention. So let's jump into Isaiah 1, verses 10-20. And again, I like to read a lot of the Bible verses rather than give a bunch of commentary. And the verses will speak loud. And this is out of the English Standard Version. Hear the word of the Lord, you rulers of Sodom. Give ear to the teachings of our God, you people of Gomorrah. Again, to the teaching. What to me is the multitude of your sacrifices, says the Lord. I've had enough of your burnt offerings of rams and the fat of well-fed beasts. I do not delight in the blood of bulls or lambs or goats. When you come to appear before me, who has required of you this trampling of my courts? Bring no more vain offerings, incense, or abomination to me. New moon and Sabbath and calling of convocations. I cannot endure iniquity and solemn assembly. Your new moons and your appointed feasts my soul hates. They have become a burden to me. I am weary of bearing them. When you spread out your hands, I will hide my eyes from you. Even though you make many prayers, I will not listen. Your hands are full of blood. Wash yourselves. Make yourselves clean. Remove the evil of your deeds from before my eyes. Cease to do evil, learn to do good, seek justice, correct oppression, bring justice to the fatherless, plead a widow's cause. Come now, let us reason together, says the Lord. Though your sins are like scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they are red like crimson, they shall become like wool. If you are willing and obedient, you shall eat the good of the land. But if you refuse and rebel, you shall be eaten by the sword, for the mouth of the Lord has spoken. And this is still true today as it was back then. One thing we need to understand about the feasts during these time period, as well as what's going on today, God's people brought in pagan worship into the feasts, and that's why God calls them your appointed feasts I hate, or my soul hates. They're not his feasts because they have been bastardized, and he does not like that. He tells us, do not do as the pagans do. Judges 2:19, English Standard Version. Yet they did not listen to their judges, for they whored after other gods and bowed down to them. They soon turned aside from the way in which their fathers had walked, who had obeyed the commandments of the Lord, and they did not do so. Okay. Again, back in ancient Mesopotamian transgender in non-binary identities. This is an article by Morg Daniels, and I'll have this website posted in the box at the bottom of the video. And this is just the first paragraph of this particular article. You can find several articles in there from Christian authors, from secular authors. You can find a plethora of videos as well. I bring this in just to show where a lot of the transgender movement is right now. See, this deal that we're dealing or battling against ancient gods and other gods is nothing new, and it hasn't changed. Now they're raising their ugly head again because God's people have been lulled asleep, and we need to wake up. If we don't wake up, we are going to have issues. All right. This article states the most highly venerated deity in ancient Mesopotamia was Iana, who was also known as Ishtar. After the two were merged, she was known as the Queen of Heaven and was the goddess of sex, war, and justice. She also was believed to have the ability to change a person's gender. This power of Iana, the ability to change a man into a woman and vice versa, is well accounted for in multiple poetry fragments and is indicative of the existence of the people living outside the gender binary in ancient Mesopotamia. The words of Yahaduana, Iana's high priestess in the city of Ur in the 23rd century BCE, attest to this. In her passionate Iana, she writes, to destroy, to create, to tear out, to establish are yours, Iana. To turn a man into a woman and a woman into a man are yours, Iana. 115 through 131. The exact meanings of the original Sumerian cannot be known for sure. The passage could instead relate simply to gender stereotypes, but this is not the only instance of ancient references to people living outside the gender binary. So this was nothing new for these people back then. We can argue what this passage here means, but this type of living was not new, and it is also talked about within the biblical context. Go to Romans 1 and read that. And there were other areas in Deuteronomy where God talks about that type of living as well. Ezekiel 8:14. Then he brought me to the entrance of the north gate in the house of the Lord, and behold, there sat a woman weeping for Tammuz. Then he said to me, have you seen this, O son of man? You will still see greater abominations than these. Read all of Ezekiel 8. That's a very interesting on the pagan worship that was going on with the Israelites. And again, folks, nothing's changed. When we see this, it's brought into Revelation. 17:5 talks about it. And on her forehead was written the name of mystery, Babylon the Great, mother of prostitutes and the earth's abominations. And again, Revelation 16:19. English Standard Version, the great city was split into three parts, and the cities of the nations fell. And God remembered Babylon the Great to make her drain the cup of the wine of the fury of his wrath. This stuff is terrible. This type of bringing these gods into our worship. Amos is a prophecy that talks about this. 5 verses 8 through 24, English Standard Version. Woe to you who desire the day of the Lord. Why would you have the day of the Lord? It is darkness and not light. As if a man fled from a lion and a bear met him and went into the house and leaned his hand against the wall and a serpent bit him. Is not the day of the Lord darkness and not light and gloom with no brightness in it? I despise your feasts, and I take no delight in your solemn assemblies. Even though you offer me your burnt offerings and grain offerings, I will not accept them, and the peace offerings of your fattened animals. I will not look upon them. Take away from me the noise of your songs, to the melody of your harps. I will not listen, but let justice roll down like waters, and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. Deuteronomy 12:29 through 32. When the Lord your God cuts off before you the nations whom you go in to dispossess, and you dispossess them and dwell in their land, take care that you do not ensnare to follow them after they have been destroyed before you, and that you do not inquire about their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods, that I also may do the same? You shall not worship the Lord your God in that way. For every abominable thing that the Lord hates, they have done for their gods. For they even burned their sons and their daughters in the fires to their gods. Everything that I command you, you shall be careful to do. You shall not add to it or take from it. And again, folks, we are at a precipice here. We can turn around. God's given us a warning, and we need to bow down to him and ask him to open our eyes up. We need to humble ourselves. We need to humble ourselves to the point where, if we think we're doing Christian things, we got to say to God, just show us everything that we're doing that we need to change, things that we can do better to worship you and to be a better light to the rest of the world. Folks, this is not about salvation. This is about being a light to the world and being God's people. He is going to cleanse us and make us holy. Right now, folks, the way we are living in America today, we are not a holy nation. And we're asking God to make us a holy nation. And the first thing we need to do is humble ourselves and say, God, what can we do to make the changes that are necessary? And, give the Bidens of the world what they want to do. If we cleanse ourselves, look to God, and ask him to open our eyes, and that we will follow him wholeheartedly. What are you willing to give up to follow God? And if you say nothing, we got to do some praying, folks. But if you say, God, help me to follow you correctly, help me to follow you with all my heart, and give me the strength to do it. And guys, we're not going to do it 100%. But what we need the heart of David. David did not do things 100%, but it was where he ran. He ran to God when he needed forgiveness. And unlike Saul ran to the dead. He ran to witches and people that would be mediums. He did not run to God. David did, and we have to be like David. Again, we're not going to be perfect, but David humbled himself and asked God to forgive him. And we need to do that, and we need to be able to do that in every area of our lives. And we are having a warning right now. And God's people are not asking for forgiveness and not willing to change every area of their lives. And we need to be able to do that. And that takes a lot of humility. And that is my prayer for everybody tonight, that we can do that. All right. Thank you, guys. Love you. And we'll catch you later.